Hello, it's Dante Graves for a very quick little fun episode to tide you over until the next official episode of the Dante Graves Show comes out, because I have had some difficulties, I'll put it that way. My camera broke during the last episode, the return of Dr. Arachnoid, and then we had to go get that fixed, and then I live in the Midwest, so obviously we were fucking covered in snow, not nearly as bad as other places, but it was pretty bad. And that impedes my ability to go out and look for ghosts and shit. My camera, once it got back and everyone was ready to go, some like personal stuff came up for nearly everybody in the crew, including myself, both financially and just emotionally. So it is not canceled. The show will go on. I just don't know exactly in what form. We've already started on the next episode, and it was just like, it's a difficult thing, so I decided to put out another little fun video where I just talk about some movies and things, because sometimes people like to hear what I have to say about movies, and other times people don't. This is gonna be one of those times, because this is my unpopular opinions about certain movies. Now, full disclosure, all cards on the table. I'm stealing this idea, or at least to my knowledge. The person who inspired me to do this video was PossessedByHorror. She did quite a few of these videos, and I found them enthralling, and I love her, and I love those videos, so I'm gonna give a crack at it. That being said, I'm only gonna give you 3, because, you know, I'm sure everyone has a treasure trove of unpopular opinions, which I would like you to leave in the comments below. So, I'm not gonna get too nervous about this video. I know some people are, but like when it's something like horror films that I feel like I know quite a bit about, if I don't agree with somebody, and they start being a dick about it, I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Go cry yourself to sleep. Like, there are some douches out there when it comes to any fandom. There's gonna be somebody who thinks that there's a correct way to think about something and an incorrect way to think about something. And that was something I really picked up on because of PossessedByHorror's video, where she goes into like examples of people being like outrageously sexist in the comments and things like that, and also just dicks. Even if it wasn't rooted in some place of sexism, it was just stupid shit they were saying. So, yeah, I'm gonna just ignore it, and I will engage with people in the comments, because I love to have conversations, but if you're gonna be a dickhead about some of the things I say, then, that's, I guess, your decision. And I fully condone your right to be stupid in the comments of this video and say some stupid shit. Let's get into my first unpopular opinion. I'm gonna start small and I'm gonna get into the bigger ones, okay? Generally, Wes Craven remakes are better than the originals. And when I say that, I'm talking specifically about the films The Hills Have Eyes and The Last House on the Left. Honestly, a lot of those like extreme 70s films, like I Spit on Your Grave, has a remake that I find vastly superior. If you actually sit there and watched The Last House on the Left and I Spit on Your Grave, and then jump to the remakes, and you told me with a straight fucking face that you did not enjoy the remakes as much as you enjoyed the originals, there's probably something wrong there with your brain. I'm dead serious. I don't like I like the original Last House on the Left, but at the same time, it is a deeply flawed film. There's like multiple versions of it floating around, and the most commonly distributed one that you can find, it has so much like uncomfortable humor that doesn't fit the tone of the film, and it also has like really just lame scenes. The Last House on the Left remake, I know some people are gonna bitch and whine that it's like, it's newer and it's just more polished and that's why it's not as good, because you need that grit and that grain, but like, I didn't feel anything when watching The Last House on the Left, the original, other than like looking at like a time capsule. I'm like, oh, this is interesting that this was a very controversial film at a time. I mean, it's mainly controversial for its depiction of rape. And it's, I mean, sure, that's like uncomfortable for a lot of people to watch, but the remake does it in a much more tasteful way, in a much more realistic way, and then you also get a much more satisfying payoff. Because like, the original film is like almost all build up, incredibly long rape scene, 10-minute revenge scene at the very end. The remake is like, little bit of build up, get us to know these people, get us to care about them, rape scene, which ain't fun, let me tell you. And then very intense, suspenseful escape scene, and then badass tension building and revenge extravaganza at the very end. That's how I like my rape revenge films. I Spit on Your Grave, the remake, nailed the perfect balance between there's an equal portion of like getting to know these people, rape shit, revenge shit. And the revenge stuff is so much harder in the remake. It lands so much more successfully. I've showed the remake of I Spit on Your Grave to many people who aren't even fucking horror movie fans, many women, and they love that movie. It is a lot more of a feminist movie than I think the original is. While I enjoy the original, and I think everyone did a pretty good job, the manners of which she dispatches people afterwards felt more like just ho-hum and not as well thought out. But in the remake, all of the deaths were like specifically planned and had to do with the way that they were treating her during the rape scene. So like, it just was all around better. I know I was trying to talk about the Wes Craven thing, so I'm going to get back to Hills Have Eyes. But basically, those two movies are better than their originals. And if you say otherwise, you're actually just being intentionally dense, or you're wearing fucking rose-tinted goggles. The Hills Have Eyes remake, I could hear the argument for this being better than the remake. I think that the only reason really to watch the original instead of the remake nowadays, though, is Michael Berryman, who's awesome in it. And like, it's a great movie, but it's just the remake expounded on everything I liked about that original movie. The mutant redneck people are all way cooler looking in the remake. And that's obviously due to like prosthetics and stuff, but there's so many more of them are memorable. In the original, like Michael Berryman and the girl are the only two that you can really remember. And the remake, there's so many awesome action scenes, there's so much better gore, the tension and the fear factor is so much higher. If you actually think the first one is scarier than the remake, it's literally just you're opposed to it because it was a remake. But those are films that I think genuinely did deserve remakes. Like, they were a great concept that worked for its time, that could have been expounded upon, and now with those three remakes are incredibly palatable. Anybody can watch them and anybody can enjoy them. And I think that's what's great about them, because also, not only do they appeal to like your normie fans, but they also just appeal to like a hardcore horror fan. The Hills Have Eyes remake is astoundingly violent, and it's awesome. That's all I have to say about that. And when I said Wes Craven remakes, I hope nobody thought that I meant the Nightmare on Elm Street remake, because that one is just hot dog shit. I'm not gonna try and defend that movie at all. I'll get into it maybe some other day. I think that there's no such thing as a bad subgenre of horror film. And like, that's not inherently a controversial idea, but like, there's a lot of, if you go around and talk to like horror fans, most of them fall into like 3 or 4 subgenres that they're willing to watch, and they're very, very picky about other things. And I get it. Like, when I'm watching a horror film, typically if I'm like sitting down, I'm logging on to Shudder and I want to watch something, I'm gonna be in the mood for something violent. I just typically prefer my horror films to have lots of gore and killing, and like, that's just what I enjoy. And a lot of times I also like them to be goofy and stupid. Like, the dumber and the gorier, typically the better, as long as those two things are executed properly. But I like a good spook every now and again. I like a good ghost, a good haunted house. I like lots of things. And there's not a single subgenre that I'm like, oh, it's a possession movie. Bleh. With possession movies, I think that they were just oversaturated for a while. But it really wasn't as deeply saturated as you thought it was. It was just, those were the movies that were getting released in theaters, and we weren't getting as many slasher films or whatnot. A lot of people really fucking hate torture films. That's like the one subgenre that most people are like, oh, I won't watch it if it's that. And it's not because they're like afraid of it, they just think it's dumb or it's cringy or it's whatever. I love torture films. I'm all about Hostel, Saw, Martyrs, I Spit on Your Grave. I just like really violent movies. That's what I enjoy watching. But like, I also like really classic, like the Universal Monsters shit. Creature from the Black Lagoon right there. I love the like classic black and white, spooky, atmospheric stuff. And I love the super in-your-face fucking intestines getting ripped out shit. I love the like slow, methodical, psychological horror. I love the goofy like Tammy and the T-Rex shit. I don't know, I just like all of the subgenres, like almost equally. I have preferences to like certain ones if I'm gonna just chill and like relax to watch something, but like, which I guess is also another unpopular opinion, is that I don't think a horror movie has to be scary to be good. Like, if a movie can go the extra mile and actually like freak me out, I love that. That's awesome. And maybe someday I'll go into movies that actually scared me. But like, because there's not that many of them, and I think most horror fans can agree on that. Like, if you are a seasoned horror vet, not many movies really bother you that much anymore, and that's kind of unfortunate because you want to be scared by things. But I'm not closed off to like found footage films, which a lot of people despise. But like, I love the movie, what the fuck is it called? Grave Encounters. Grave Encounters is one of my favorite movies, like, period. I love the characters in it, I love the idea of it. I watched it at a time in my life when it was just like the perfect thing that I needed to see, and I just adored that movie. The last one is a lot more controversial, so I'm gonna hurry up and get to that one, because that's the one that like I almost made this entire video around. The first two, those were like appetizers. This one is the real one that people are gonna be like, you need to fucking die. So I'm gonna just throw it out there, because like it's something that like I've thought on for like so long, and a lot of times I've like directly lied to myself about it, because I'm like, I just don't want to be the only one that thinks this, and I think I really am. So it's probably the most unpopular opinion you're ever gonna fucking hear. It's gonna enrage people. I don't give a fuck though, because like I've re-watched both of these movies so many times, and I'm like, yeah, this one's better, and I know this, and I'm gonna say this. Psycho 2 is better than the first movie. What? Slow down! That's typically the response you get when you say that, like in a serious manner. I know a lot of times if you just say you like Psycho 2, people flip the fuck out, and it's like, if I'm being honest, I like Psycho 1, 2, 3, and 4. Like, the whole series, it's not really something that's looked at as like a franchise, but I love all of these movies. But Psycho 2, fuck, that movie's fucking awesome. Have you seen Psycho 2? No? Then quit bitching about it. Like, there's so many people that, like, they're just appalled by the idea that Psycho 2 even exists. And I'm like, look, I'm gonna say some shit that's gonna upset you people. Psycho 1 is good, but it's just good. Like, I watched it knowing... So, okay, Psycho 2, or Psycho 1, I should say, I think is a super historical film. I think it's required viewing if you're gonna be a horror fan, just because it's like, it's so essential to horror canon that like, you need to see it. That being said, as a society, people have kind of like just made it okay to spoil Psycho, in the same way that we all know who Luke Skywalker's father is, and we all know who kills Dumbledore. It's all been like outed years prior to anybody nowadays going and watching Psycho. And with the advent of shit like Bates Motel, which I didn't watch all of, I watched like half the first season. I really don't care for TV shows. They have to be like really fucking good and then I'll watch them. But with the advent of stuff like Bates Motel, you have this new generation of people being exposed exclusively to that incarnation of these characters. And you might not think that's true, but like I went to high school with a high school full of people who were obsessed with that show and had no idea that the movie Psycho even existed. So that is, if you say Norman Bates, that show comes to mind of a lot of people that look like they're my age. And that's annoying, but like it's just how it is. That's how culture gets processed, and that's how characters get reinvented. So they know Norman Bates as that. So if they went and watched Psycho, that movie would appear extremely boring to them because it's a bunch of build-up to an ending that they're already aware of. And it's like, that ending was what made Psycho, like when it came out. If you didn't know that ending, it would have blown your fucking mind. But now everyone knows it. So it's like, it's just not special anymore. I think what I like so much about a movie like Saw is that its twist ending is perfect, and also that Saw has slipped just under the radar enough that I can still show it to a lot of people who don't know that ending, and I can get that like secondhand thrill of them watching the ending again. Psycho, I can't do that because everyone knows Psycho. I think it's an intensely well shot movie. It's super well acted, but it's just one movie. It's a movie that like is historical. It's not a movie like in the same way that I love Night of the Living Dead, except I like Night of the Living Dead way fucking more than I like Psycho. But Night of the Living Dead is a movie I love, but if I'm gonna show somebody a George Romero zombie movie, I'm gonna show them Dawn of the Dead or Day of the Dead. It's just how it is. And even then, I might show them Return of the Living Dead before I show them Night of the Living Dead. Like, it's Psycho does not have the same draw that it used to. On the other hand, Psycho 2, I've showed to many people who are like familiar with the plot of Psycho 1 and they know shower scene. Psycho 2 is a movie that was made so meticulously and crafted so expertly. Like, I think Psycho 2 is a fucking masterpiece. They made that movie so meticulously and crafted it so superbly that you can show it to somebody that only knows the twist of Psycho and the shower scene from Psycho and understand everything about Psycho 2, because that's what Psycho 1 was. The most iconic elements from that movie entered the pop culture mythos because it was so groundbreaking that like now everyone knows it. I showed Psycho 1 to a guy I was dating a while ago, and he basically felt that it was just really slow. Like, he already knew the ending, because we were going to watch Psycho 1 and Psycho 2 back to back, and he already knew that Psycho 1 was going to be like a slower film, but like when you're watching it, like you're just waiting for the iconic moments that you already know of to happen, and the shit in between is supposed to be incredibly suspenseful because you don't know what's coming, but once you do know what's coming, you're just waiting for those scenes to happen. Like, it just, the pace of the film really suffers because of cultural osmosis that has spoiled the film. So, but when we watched Psycho 2, he loved that movie because it starts, for one, with a complete, they just stock footage put in the shower scene. The most iconic and best scene from the first movie is already in Psycho 2. And then if you know the twist ending of Psycho 1, you can just pick up in Psycho 2 and go from there. And it has a twist that you don't know yet, because nobody spoiled it. There's like 3 twists, just so you're really covered on your twist thing. The kills are awesome. They're classic 80s movie slasher kills, which brings Norman Bates into that like slasher canon of the 80s, which I think is awesome because I love that character. Seeing the house, the Psycho house and hotel in color, honestly does something to you. Like, it's incredible what you missed out on in black and white, which I rarely say because I love black and white. But like, Psycho 1, I love that it's in black and white, but Psycho 2 and 3, I love that I can watch and like see the house come to life in like Technicolor. It's not Technicolor, but yeah. And the music is great, and Anthony Perkins as that character coming back and playing him another 3 times. Like, it's a series of films that I think all of them are great, but Psycho 2 I think really does best the original in terms of rewatch value. I think in terms of historical significance, obviously Psycho 1 fucks the second one. But I think in terms of like genuine cinematic like enjoyment, like the one I watch the most, because I watch Psycho 2 a lot. It's one of my favorite films, period. I love Psycho 2, and I've showed it to so many people and it always goes over well. So, I don't know. That's all I really had to say. If you like this video, let me know how dumb you think I am in the comments below. And if you like it, I'll do another one. And if you like to see more movie talk videos and not just episodes of the Dante Graves Show, which you can find on this playlist, let me know. So this has been Dante Graves of the Dante Graves Show, and I hope to see you next time.